Welcome to the Dribble Podcast, your weekly fix of all things Perth Wildcats and Aussie basketball, presented by PerthNow.
G'day everyone and welcome to the Dribble Podcast, what will be our last show to end the year. It's been a massive 2019 and we thank you as always for your company. My name's Chris Robinson from the West and PerthNow. And the man alongside me who's been here every step of the way for 2019, Perth Wildcats legend Greg Hire. Greg, has it gone quick for you or is it just me?
Oh mate, I mean I felt like we just got back on the airwaves and we're number one all over Australia and tweets coming left, right and centre, and then we have a little bit of a break. But I'll tell you what, it's come out at the right time. I'm limping my way there.
Limping to the finish line?
I mean, obviously transitioned out from former professional athlete to 9 to 5 or work 7 to 3 so I can see the kids. But I'll tell you what, I'm excited for Chris to get away, turn the phone off and just enjoy my life a little bit.
Yes, you've still got a bit to squeeze in before between now and then. Yeah. Tell our listeners what you're doing tomorrow.
Yeah, I head off to China for a 3x3 tournament. So, it was. We got the call up a week or two ago from Basketball Australia, and they said, "Oh, look, would you be keen on the tournament?" I was like, "Yeah, of course." And then, what's the dates? Falls just 2 days before Christmas, so I sort of let it simmer for 2-3 days. Would have spoiled Ainsley left, right and centre, just sort of, setting up a little bit of an arsenal that then I could ease my way and say, hey, do you mind if I go away for a little trip? Sure. So, going to Guangzhou for the Senior Golden League, which is a unique timing. It's the off season for 3x3 basketball, so I had a run around yesterday at an off-season comp for the SBL players, and I needed it. I was blown for a little bit, so good to have a bit of a sweat up. I recruited Tommy Jervis.
Nice.
So a very unique. I got Tommy Wright and Andrew Steele, who sort of obviously are the mainstays of the Australian lineup, but and you're obviously not going to get NBL guys being in season, and so we wanted to try a different tack. Tommy obviously never played 3x3 basketball, but I know is demonstrates grit and hardness, and that's what you need in that format of the game. He will not be in shape, but in that style, it's a 7-footer. We just want to try a different dynamic, see how we guard, try
bit of a rim presence.
Yeah, and it's Team USA won the World Cup with a more agile sort of guy, but the way they do it, sort of similar, like let guys shoot long twos and chase off the line, which we think we can do with Tommy, and go from there. So it's exciting. I'm excited to go back and play. I obviously love the game. Guangzhou is a quite cool spot. I was actually joking around with one of the teammates. It's got the second biggest indoor snow park or fields or whatever. So I was like, well, if we don't make the finals, get to go snowboarding.
Hit the artificial slopes.
And I haven't done that for 10 years because of being a professional athlete. So
that's right.
Got to take the good with the bad.
Excellent. And you're during the week confirming that you're running it back with Rockingham, so another season at the Flames?
One more year, another 20,000 Ks in my car, but it's good. I mean, really classy organisation, club, obviously, it's sort of 2 years ago when I signed with him. It was a sort of a unique sort of thing in terms of what was I trying to get out of SBL, and had an interview today, and it's not I fell out of the game in terms of love with it, but I sort of was reinvigorated with the passion why, when you play SBL or like when you first started playing, it's why you do it. It's, from humble sort of things. You don't care about getting paid. You don't worry about championships. It's more so that brotherhood and that connection. And I remember winning my very first SBL championship, and one of the highlights there, just because guys that work those 7 to 7 hours, or labourers, or that's the biggest thing in their life, to see them win a championship, and it's huge. Like it's obviously good, but it's the reactions of other people that you get to, and I've obviously experienced at a high level. And 2 years ago when we lost in the semi-final, to see those faces of being emotional because they were so close to getting a grand final, it's sort of that motivation to get back there and hopefully win a championship of this club that's never won an SBL title. So exciting times. The club's growing a lot. They've invested a lot into the club, and I'm working hard in terms of to work out the juniors and stuff. Just so for me, it's about the long-term sustained success of basketball. For me, it's, whilst irrespective, I play for Rockingham, I want success all across the board in junior basketball and stuff like that. I just worked out this morning with a bunch of junior level Wolves kids and stuff like that, just because for me that's huge. You don't want to just be focusing on one program, and obviously we're seeing a little bit of golden patch, I guess, with juniors coming through. Luke Travers-Wani, who we haven't had too many Western Australia players in the past, so now to hopefully we can continue that trend.
Fantastic. Well, let's talk about the Cats, mate, because it was another 2-0 weekend or week for them. Getting the win up in Cairns, you always got the feeling that they were going to take care of Cairns after two consecutive losses to them earlier in the season, and then coming back here, backing it up 40 hours later against Brisbane as well. What caught your eye in the Cairns game? I mean, to me, something that stood out was the small ball lineup down the stretch. So Perth was down and sort of late in that game.
Brisbane as well.
Yeah, so they're logging minutes without either Majuk or Dario Hunt at the 5. So Nick Kay's been at the 5 for stints, and also Reece Vague as well. What kind of different look does that give them? Do you like that? Do you think they should use it more? Have they used it the right amount? What sort of was your takeaway from that?
Yeah, well, I think it complements the way that they're playing, and right now, I mean, I think they would love more output from Dario, I think. I think Majok's doing really good in his role. Is when he gets in there, he's not a focal piece, and so he crashes the ball as hard as players with the right mindset and doing all that sort of stuff. I think, unfortunately right now, Dario is just getting himself in too many foul situations, and even coming off the bench, he's still, and I think he really needs to be able to adapt. Like, they're questionable calls, no doubt, but it's been happening, and it's now halfway through the season. So I think they obviously do need that. They're going to use that lineup, and you see that. I mean, there's not too many traditional bigs anymore. Like, even Nate wasn't played against Cairns. Even Bogut got in foul trouble. And Sean Long, like all these sort of guys, you traditionally, and that's the thing, like Cairns play Oliver at the 5 a lot, Majok, so they're for the luxury. In Brisbane, whilst they had Hodgson and Magnay, which I had to have a laugh. Like, they interviewed Hodjo after the game, and he called out his teammates. I'm not sure if that was the right timing to do that, but sort of said, look, they discussed that. We've got, you had a strength, you had an advantage on the bigs, and he sort of said, we thought so, but we didn't go inside enough. I didn't get enough looks. So
they got some issues there.
So for me, I was like, you can agree with that and make that statement, make it in-house. It's sort of, I just looked at it as my ears sort of perked up and went, it's not an ideal situation to say it in, but so look, I think that lineup works right now, and I had a laugh. I was actually, as I was walking out and thinking about the show yesterday when we were talking, I sort of had a laugh and a bit of a chuckle to myself, because only after that Adelaide loss, it was like the roof was caving in, like in terms of that, like from a fan's perspective and that, and I just, it comes back to that, like 2-0 this week. They went 4-0 against like arguably very talented outfits, and they need to after being on the road for so long, and 4 games in 8 days go for, and then they come back and they get a 2-0 weekend, and it's just their mainstays. Like, I thought, what takes it to be a superb team, and like arguably against the Brisbane game, when I saw it even against Cairns, I was like, I just knew they were going to win. Like, even like the momentum may have gone Cairns' way. I was like, Wildcats are just going to start. They started in the 4th quarter against Brisbane on a flurry. They started against Cairns, like these guys. And when the game's decided or is to be decided, you just know, like, you have utmost confidence in going, all right, I'll give the ball to Bryce, or I'll give it to Tariko, and they'll make either the right play or they'll score. I couldn't, when I was watching the Brisbane game, I was like, who are you going to give that ball to and go, get me a bucket or get me a look? Like, Patterson's your guy, but he was not really a significant factor all game. Like, he did well, but not, I just look and went like, unless, like those two, that's just such a potent lineup. Like, even the numbers, like Bryce had a slow start to the game or didn't get the looks and then goes berserk. Like, you just sort of laugh and go like, in the midst of everything that's going on, like they just stay constant. Like they don't have those ebbs and flows, and still guys still can play better. I know Mitch is obviously not playing the best basketball that he's accustomed to. Clint's playing well, like got confidence, and that's the one thing that was always an issue was his mental aptitude. Not saying didn't approach the right way, just confidence wise, and he's playing like really well. And Jesse and I said this in the very first episode this year, like Jesse had suffered a significant injury last year to his fingers, and it was the same when you talk about the magnitude. It was the same injury as what a player suffers an ACL injury, and he with his fingers in terms of that. Now he's a shooter, and so he couldn't do that sort of stuff. And now we're just seeing that, like, So look, it's funny. Like I just sort of had a bit of a chuckle. The one thing I look at in this year and last year is they're healthy. They've missed one game. My wife said it goes. When we're talking about difference of years and the strength of schedule and all this sort of stuff. And I look at it and go, well, last year, I can't remember the time when the whole lineup was. I remember my wife said, like, we played New Zealand and there was like 3 starters missing. This year they've missed one game from Tariko. That's in terms of that one, he's obviously missed a bit. It was never going to be a huge piece like he'll have his moments, and that's been huge for them. They've stayed relatively healthy, and you're seeing that across the league. Sydney have been relatively healthy, sitting on top of the ladder, and Wildcats, and then everyone else, and we'll touch on it. Important pieces haven't been healthy. Southeast Melbourne with Wesley, Casey with Melbourne. So interesting times, but pretty crazy that they're just rolling along.
I think Jesse's been used really well. We've seen him come to the fore, sort of late third, early fourth in that rotation, and is just
coming up with
before,
really
so
smart plays.
He's very crafty.
And even
he knows how to get calls.
Exactly. Gets an old loose ball. That they've got confidence that Bryce can go, and this is the thing when he gets rolling, he can dump it off, and he, that's the thing. He'll shoot, like he'll have these, and he'll have a game where he goes 0 for 7 or goes 0 from 8, and you'll hear calls of retirement, and he's done and dusted, and all this. But then you don't look at it the 4 or 5 where he's double figures, or he had like one game where I think he had 4 boards, just possession, just taps outs and gets a huge charge.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. There's stuff that don't show up in the stat
exactly.
sheet.
And you just go like. Trev knows that's like even Trev would put me in games where because he had trust in me, and he's got that with Jesse. He knows he's Mr. Dependable, especially in 4 if he plays that lineup, and he'll roll with it. And they're steaming at the moment. It's pretty nice to see. Yeah,
it's a good point you raise about that confidence. And this is something that Perth's obviously built up through many, many years now, where they have that confidence to even if they're down in the second half or whatever it is. It sort of works both ways, I feel, because not only does Perth have that confidence that, hey, we've seen this movie before, we can get through this thing, but as an opposition as well, surely there must be a little bit in your mind where you're just like, these guys are going to pull out this win, aren't they? That must be somewhere in the back recesses of your mind when it's coming down towards, down the stretch of a game where you're thinking, I've seen Perth pull out these wins so often before. Are they going to do this again?
And that's the thing, that's their identity. And you hear it from Mitch Creek talking about when they lost against Adelaide. They're a new organisation, new team. They're still trying to figure out ways to win. And you see that with like the Wildcats. Like there's been so many times like throughout the season, go against New Zealand, they lose, I think, on the first of the road trip or whatever, and then they back up, play New Zealand. Might have been against Cairns. And then they have to, travel the craziest road. It wasn't even in Auckland. They travel, and they just go like, I knew straight away, like they're going to win. That they sort of love that, like backs against the wall. Not we got to write our own story, but it's just like we've never had, an attitude. Like we feel sorry for us. Not saying other clubs do. But you hear it, like even in the mindset, and it's just you just get it, you get it done, you get your business done, and that's what you're recruiting high character guys like Nick Hayes, Mitch Nortons, guys that might not be the flashiest, but you just know that they're just going to continue working. Like like I spoke to Mitch, like you can see in body language and stuff like that. Like it's just around the corner because come today or a day off, like they're busting tail, not just playing the game and figuring it out on the court, but they're watching video, they're getting feedback from coaches, and they don't, when things are going great, they don't get excited and start piping up, and they remain moderate, and that's what you see with that success. So it's sort of funny because even that, and I said that a few weeks ago, completely different team even when stuff was going on and it was easy to implode and all that sort of stuff, but the identity of that, we've been in a situation before, relax, it's been a lot worse. We sat at the bottom table, there was calls for roster cuts, we just lost a few games, you can't win them all, and you know what, Adelaide are rolling at the moment as well, and stuff like that, and I think they're fine.
There's just such a high standard because, as you say, when we spoke about that Adelaide loss, which was only 2 weeks ago, and in terms of what's going wrong is Perth were 8-5 at that point. There's teams that would kill to be 8-5 and having those kind of quote unquote problems. Nick Kay's had a monster fortnight, and he's trying to bring a bit of that flash. A couple of one-handed dunks. That dunk was a
Saturday. Sneaky.
Yeah,
I don't know whether it was just because.
Did the commentary crew get hyped enough for that?
No, but even that, I always loved the bench reactions, and it was a bit slow, what the hell, because it wasn't expected. But I think because it wasn't like a flush, went straight down, and there was no, Nick just ran down the court, and, there was no fuss about it. But, it was huge. It was, on Magnay's head, and it just wasn't clean. But, I mean,
sneaky good.
If he blocked it, it would have been going all over the spot. I mean, I saw Cam Oliver try and yoke it on Benson yesterday, and that was tweeted by the NBL saying and it was a missed dunk, and I was just Nick actually caught a body, it was very good. But you've seen that, and I think that's the thing is, during that stretch where they were going, you got to think about now their schedule, and Bryce said it last night, I don't think they have a double header for the rest of the season.
That
schedule
helps a lot,
is down, they've had a brutal stretch, and usually this whole, obviously now changed the format in tennis tournament, but that's usually after this. Now, they're sort of looking and going, we don't actually have that bad of a stretch. They've had a brutal stretch.
The two biggest things in your schedule, right, are away games and those doubles.
Correct.
And Perth's more than exhausted.
Exactly right. And saying that, they've always, double headers have never been this big thing, because they always, if you lost one, you're can't wait. They respond. I'd love to see that over the history of clubs on a double header. What's their ratio of winning it when they lose that first one? What's the next one? What's the result? Because usually you'd be sweet. If you lost one and you play a week later, you're still chewing, and you're just we're just absolutely smashing ourselves, and then by the end of it. But whereas a game, it felt pretty good because you had a day of reflection, you'd travel, watch the game, get chewed out a little bit by the coaches, and you're playing. If you win, that's it. It's forgotten about. Whereas if you lose and play a week later, you get chewed out for 4 days. You watch the same clip 4 days in a row, so you're always happy for a quick turnaround.
No, that's definitely going to factor into the schedule coming home. And just looking at, I've touted it a couple of times, but South East Melbourne, the home stretch that they've had, I just look at their schedule for this week. They're at New Zealand and then at Sydney. Those kind of doubles and road games are going to come real quickly for them, and I think reality is going to follow. A few words on Damo's 300th for the Wildcats. He gave you a shout out, actually. In terms of running onto the court with his two kids. Did he have to seek sort of copyright approval from you here? Were you the inspiration?
I knew he would, though, because he asked a few times. Even when I retired, I remember it was we were having a red wine in the off season, and he sort of said, "Hey, in that moment when you walked, went onto the your last game, how did that come about?" And I was just it's your last game, and I always love it. In the footy sort of things when you try they come on their 150th and 200th, and you see that. So, I didn't see the start of the game, but my wife was saw it, and she was they went on. So it was pretty cool, and I always love the reaction. Even I look close, just being a parent, so you sort of see your kids. But as they went on, Maggie obviously was a bit frightened and came a little bit closer to him and stuff like that. But it was cool, and what an awesome. It's funny. It's as much as he downplays it, and everyone I still think he's the way he impacts the game on both ends, sets up teammates and does that. And he's not shooting well this year and as efficient scoring as he would have liked to mean. But it's funny, just in his 300th game, one of his game that's going to go down as memorable, gets a donut, in his way, but still gets 8 rebounds. You could have not been more Damo-like, I guess, except of getting 9 steals. But it was good. I was glad the boys generally. I remember my 200th we lost. So in Mulso games we haven't been. It's always been the case. You sort of see that. But it was pretty cool to see him share that moment with his daughters. That's for sure. And we have to touch on one of your other former teammates, Jarrod Kenny, down the stretch against. That hair might be getting a snip.
The Phoenix. That was one of the first things I thought about actually. Up 6 with the ball, 25 seconds left, and 2 pretty ordinary turnovers.
I was absolutely gutted, and I don't even know how to approach this because I'm obviously close with him, but as a player you would have known, and you'd go on that one play defines the game, but it's 2 plays. And look, he had an absolute great game, and I was hating the commentary because he hit a third, and I'm like, oh, Jarrod Kenny, Christmas has come early. I didn't even realise his 3-point percentage, but harped on it, and then. He made a second one in the fourth, and he was playing great defense. And and I and the thing was, as I saw him, and as you spoke about just before the show, he pulled it out, a little bit of leadership. Oh, look, won't need to score. We're up 6, and he just was a bit nonchalant, a bit relaxed with his pass, and that happens. And then, it was just that chain reaction of things makes that, and I was like, I don't even know if he should be the guy inbound. Not saying that, but he just committed a turnover. That's obviously playing in your head, and there's so many things why didn't they foul and give an opportunity to tie it, and obviously unsportsmanlike, but all those sort of things. And
you definitely have the unsportsmanlike in your head.
But and then it was. As soon as that happened and they had the opportunity and went into overtime, I was like, they're running away. I mean, that was an unbelievable performance, but I couldn't help but be captivated of how that went about. He just, every single shot didn't look like missing. He just completely, it was
John Robertson.
It was a sight to see. It was one of those things that should be spoken about. We'll be on highlight reels. It should be, in 3 years' time, you'll be like, oh, that was one of the better performers. If you were there.
Crazy.
It's when we spoke about Jermaine Beal scoring 40. Yes. He scored 21 and 25, and in the last 6 minutes, it was ridiculous. It was a pretty fun thing to see. Just not good to see one of your best mates be involved in it.
Just quickly, how as a teammate, how do you handle that if you're a teammate of Jarrod's and you're walking into the locker room after the game? Is it we're leaving him alone because you know how much he's hurting? Is there anything that you can say or should say? Or
you leave that and
you just leave it for a while?
You leave that and don't even speak about it, because irrespective of as a player, I remember I spoke about it when against Townsville, missed a couple of free throws, I think, and then had a bad rotation. We lost, and I knew, I was like, no, I definitely lost the game. If I didn't do that stupid rotation, Leon Henry doesn't get the shot, and everyone would say, it's not the one player. Yeah.
This is like a 62-59 kind of game.
Nah, it was later on. It was I got brought on late, and I think it was a year we sort of was struggling a little bit. No, can't remember, but we played them, and I got subbed on late, and I ended up making a play, and then had 2 free throws, missed both free throws, and then the ensuing possession rotated down a drive, and we're up 2, I think, and I went to close. I wasn't even supposed to. I just got caught trying to make a play, and they kicked it out. Leon Henry hits a 3 and wins the game. And I remember sitting there going far out, that was the worst thing I could have done, and knowing it. And then no one said anything. Oh, look, it's only one. It's not the one play. They always hear, coach, it's one play. If you miss, and I was like, oh, mate, I know it was me. And it was literally the only thing. Trev hit me up at the airport the next day. We were playing against Illawarra, and was tapped me on the shoulder and said, mate, beautiful thing is we get to back it up tomorrow, and has the opportunity to redeem yourself, and I ended up having a double-double, which was nice. So that was perfect time. But he would know, and one guy. The one thing, and this is what with televised games, and this is now if you watch it, is I watch this, is body language and all that. In that instance of seeing that, Mirko Jeric was looked livid, and Nate Jaiwai was talking to him about it. as a teammate, I would hate to see that as another teammate. Obviously, you're livid and you want to be in those instances, and but I'd be looking at that and going like, mate, you're my teammate. Like, you don't need to. Yeah, I know what I did wrong. So I'd be looking at that and like that's what I'd be looking at from the group and going, this is how we move on. But they will speak about it, I'm sure, in the rooms.
Yeah, that's definitely one of those times where you want the game coming in 2 days' time or wherever it is,
exactly.
which unfortunately Jarrod doesn't get until next weekend. Mate, let's get into some mid-season awards. We're halfway through, tick over halfway through, I think, for most, if not all teams.
Yep.
Let's go through it, mate. Start with the MVP.
Yes.
I'll let you go. Who you got?
Look, so I'm going to go both who I think is going to win it at the end of the season and then who I think who deserves it.
Okay.
So right now, I think Bryce Cotton deserves it, but I think who will win it is Mitch Creek.
Oh, that's exactly the same as me.
So
that's exactly the same. So the voting system is Creek is going to have fewer guys to take votes off him.
Correct. And I think
including Wesley being out for most of the season thus far. Robertson only stepping up in bits and pieces.
Yeah, and I think he'll win enough games, and even they'll see his impact. So if they can, it'll come down, and this is the voting, is playoffs. So if they sneak, the only issue he won't get MVP is if he's not in that fourth spot, because I think he gets it because they'll look at it and go, first time organisation, come back, there's an infatuation, there's a love from the league, marketing, all that sort of stuff. Rightfully so, he's a heck of a player, but they'll go, okay, he's basically carried this team to this spot, whereas it's the funny thing of like Coach of the Year, and they spoke about it on the telecast, like, why is Trev not recognised for winning 4 championships? And it's like, they're high resource, they're a successful club, they shouldn't be acknowledged. Like how Bryce wasn't, runner-up MVP or MVP last year was dumbfounding to me, and I think it comes back to, he's good, but it won't get the MVP.
Yeah, I think there's an element of voter fatigue with this sort of stuff, and for Bryce to be consistently performing at a higher level, Mitch Creek's just come back into the league. I actually think that if I'm assessing it right now, I think Creek's probably in front. I think by season's end, I think Bryce will be in front because I think that the Phoenix are going to hit a wall and fall away, and Mitch won't have that amount of wins. We might as well do coach because you just jumped into coach. I think the coach of the year thing has always kind of been an expectation versus reality. The thing that kills Trev is that there's always such a high expectation for Perth because they're constantly expected to be title contenders and constantly are title contenders. And then people look at Coach of the Year, and so often it's who has performed way above the expectation with the group that they've got. I'm subscribing to that theory for this one, and it's Mike Kelly from Cairns. What he's been able to do with that group, they were, as you said, I think last week, they were 0-12 or something to start last season. They lost Mello Trimble. We didn't think this squad was going to be amazing on paper, and somehow, as we spoke about, they should have won that game against South East Melbourne and been 8-8. Somehow they're right there in the playoff picture. I think he deserves a lot of credit for that in his second season, so he's my pick right now. I agree. Like, it's going to be, that's the thing. Obviously at the midway mark, I'd say the same with that roster, and it's interesting. So I'm thinking this way, but then I'm like, Will Weaver deserves it. They've lost 2 games now? 3, sorry. Sorry, they lost back then, so 2 of them. But then, with the resources, they're expected to do well. Correct.
But then at the same time,
he has taken them to another level.
So I look at it, but then like Joey Wright, like they're in the playoff picture, and I think they will get 4th, like the way that they're playing. Who would have thought their roster, and they were, again,
and they've figured it out a bit over the past few weeks.
3 at the start of the year, everyone's like writing them off, and now they're playing fearless, so like that. But I think it will come down at the end of the season. For me, again, it's that romanticising, like if Cairns slide into 4th, Mike Kelly will get it. Joey, but then it depends if Sydney keep going. I think Will Weaver will get it off that sake of if how dominant their regular season is and first thing.
Yeah. If they finish 23-5 or something.
Correct. And the next
case.
is like 4 losses after him.
Yeah.
And I think he makes too much of a point because of their roster. But it's the same deal though. He's a first-time coach, so that you haven't got that effect of like it's like Trev won Coach of the Year with Townsville, where they were successful, but because of their resources, they're like, they weren't expected to do well, so we're going to give it to him. Now he comes to Wildcats, does do well, and they're like, nah.
You should have done well. Yeah, it's a really strange one, that Coach of the Year one. Defensive Player of the Year, is this Andrew Bogut? Or is someone else stepping up here?
And I've just been looking because it's such an interesting case.
I've got Bogut down almost by default. He won it last year. I think he's still probably the best defensive player, just in terms of the way that he just about warps offenses and makes you do something different.
Yeah, it's such an interesting...
He's still the most commanding defensive presence in the league, I think, with respect to Damo.
See, I'm going to put a sneaky one who I do think... When I watch the games, and there's no one that I look at it and go, okay, fair enough. So, completely agree. He has changed the way the game is, but then at the same time as that whole system. But then if the way the Wildcats beat him and Cairns beat him, like letting him stay in the key range, shoot twos, is that a strong defensive player? But then, it's the way they play, and you do, and then they win, and they absolutely pants Melbourne by the same style that they played, and him doing that.
Yeah.
The one person I would recognise is Sunday Dech, because
good shout.
I've seen him go, and so I compare him and Damo right now, but like Damo, like I haven't seen, like he isn't as impactful as he was, and I've seen point guards have their way with him and all that sort of stuff, and to the way he is now, he's obviously still huge, and it's because, again, like you put Damo on such high standards, but I look at Sunday and go, like, there's been a lot of guys that he's gone against that I haven't really felt that they've had their way and gone nuts, but I don't think he's ever going to be in the case because he's not a big name as of yet, and he's not getting enough draw cards. Like even that, like I saw other people mention DJ Nooble and then Bogues and Long. Long is no way in the defensive player conversation because I'm seeing other 5 men dominate and get season highs or career high.
Yes.
But I agree. Bogue, I will think will get it because that. But for me right now, I put Sunday Dech in that role because for me, he's actually done a really good job on his opposition, and that's the one I've looked at and gone, you know what, he's actually limited averages and all that sort of stuff. So I put him as a bit of a...
Okay. Rookie of the Year, I've gone Kiewit Noi from Cairns. This is obviously...
Because of your crystal ball, right?
Sorry?
You think LaMelo is not going to be back?
Yeah, but is LaMelo eligible? Is the Next Stars?
Next Stars are.
Yeah, okay. So I don't particularly like that.
No, I agree.
Because I think they're effectively imports, and imports have never been eligible for rookie, so I'm taking a local. But also, that's a really good conversation to have. If LaMelo doesn't come back, as we kind of expect, has he got enough of a body of work through the 12 or 13 games that he played?
Correct.
To be Rookie of the Year when he hasn't played half a season. So that's going to be a tough one for judges.
And the league will be upset because then they will be like, do we give it to him? And even though he doesn't deserve it, but it's good for us and our marketing. But I think on those accounts, because I don't think LaMelo's coming back, so I think Didi Lozada's going to get it.
Okay.
Just because, he's in the mix, and Kiewit Noi has been up and down, as has Didi has been, but I think even if you look at averages and all that sort of stuff, and it still ticks the box of the marketing.
He does. But he's not really a rookie, but that's okay.
Nah, but they're eligible Next Stars for some reason.
Yeah, fair enough. Most Improved is going to be really interesting, so I'm guessing you're taking Sunday here.
Yeah, and that's... So for me...
Can I throw another name at you? Sean Bruce.
Oh, yeah, and I'm with you.
Because that's kind of an asterisk one where it's like, well, he was barely in the league last year. We know what he can do as basically a veteran of the league, but he has been unreal. So this is going to be a great battle between a few different guys.
Yeah, and so Dane Piano is the obvious choice.
Yeah, Dane's there as well. Yep.
Barely played last year for Sydney and has come into that position and has done really well.
Yeah.
But yeah, still played minutes, and
Yeah, I think those other two guys are ahead of him. I think Bruce and Sunday.
I look at it. It's like sort of if there was like in the NFL do it like the comeback player of the year, like that is like there, you know, like because I look at like Sunday. Yeah, he played. That's the thing, like. How do you equate it? Because he played 5 games. Now, if he plays 25 games, you know, and then they're like, well, yeah, he ended up averaging 6 points, and now he's averaging 9. Like, but yeah, he played 5 and same as Bruce, like barely played, and then couldn't get a roster, and now is. Like, yeah, I watched him against Melbourne. Like, he was, like, unbelievable, like, in his playmaking ability. Like, he's up top 10 in assists, coming off the bench
really
and shooting really, really well.
Yep.
So, especially with Kev going down hurt. But, yeah, I think what's going to happen is, Dane Pinot is going to be just going. And I think there'll be... Yeah, I think Sean may slightly jump off and regress a little bit. And I think Sunday with these 2 imports will go. But I don't think with Pinot, because they're not going to make a change. And like I don't think Wesley changes that. Like his minutes still like
Wesley kind of comes to the fore and then Creek goes
shifts
down.
So he's still going to play. Like he played a lot yesterday.
Yeah. Okay. And then the last, I think the last one, is our All-Star 5.
Yes,
so
good
let me roll out my 5 and then we'll see what you reckon.
Perfect.
So Casper Ware at the point, Bryce Cotton at the 2. I've put Mitch Creek at the 3, which is kind of a cheat and kind of isn't because he's a 3. He's been playing at the 4. He will play at the 3 for the rest of the season, you think.
But you need to fit someone else.
And I need to fit someone else. I've gone Nick Kay at the 4 and then Bogut at the 5. Now,
makes sense.
Kay, a lot of people might furrow their brows at Kay. Kay's got the second highest player efficiency rating of anyone in the league right now. And that's one of the most Nick Kay things because, as we say, he probably didn't have a great stretch there, but he's still been super efficient, and particularly his last fortnight, as we said before, has been large. So is there anything that you'd change from that 5?
Yeah, so I would go Machado as my point.
Okay, that was a tough one.
Yeah, I love his game, but I just think, again, so this is what's going to come down to, and it could be very interesting. If they because even that, like how if Sydney finished so high on top, how do you not have?
Or if Cairns fall a hell of a way as well,
Correct. So, but then that's where I go, because even this is where I see it happening is Cairns and Adelaide will finish 4th.
Yep.
So then, and Randall's been on a tear and Machado, but I think Machado carries that team. So I'll go with him, Bryce at the 2. I'm going Lamar Patterson at the 3 because I think without him, Brisbane wouldn't even win a game. Maybe close. Creek at the 4 because that's where he's playing. Like even though Wesley and Creek does that.
So you're disrespecting Nick Kay? Okay.
Yeah, I am. But
sure.
Creek's had a better body of work. Unfortunately, I put him as an MVP.
Yeah, so, no, Creek's got to be in there. It's just a matter of whether you have him at the 3 or the 4.
He's not playing at the 3. He starts at the 3 and then plays 38 minutes at the 4.
There's a bit of forecasting in this as well, though.
And then Bogues at the 5. But so that'd be. And then can't wait to see Sean Long absolutely spit it again. But
if Sean Long wants to be in this conversation, he has to start beating Bogut.
Correct.
Like when they're up against each other, right?
Yeah, can't foul out in 12 minutes.
Yeah.
Like I would have been licking my lips if Bogues fouls out. Every time Bogues got a foul, Long got a foul 2 minutes later. It didn't make sense. And there was one time even there was a travel before a foul, and he would have got his 5th foul. And I was like, why are you even trying to block him? You're arguably your most important player. Offensively, they weren't scoring at all, and he was scoring at will. Why would you put yourselves in a position? But
this is where I have a big question mark over Sean Long, and in a big playoff game or something like that.
I
you
agree.
just wonder if if there's something boneheaded coming and.
No.
He's going to be a liability. We'll smash out one quick Twitter question because we're running way over time. This is from our old friend Adam Westerhout. What do you think the Cats do next year if Damo retires and or Cotton naturalises? So this is a big hypothetical, obviously. It's a realistic possibility that this is Damo's last season. It's also a very realistic possibility that Bryce is not an import next year.
His application's gone through,
Yeah, so, I mean, Perth has been blessed with franchise point guards when you think about Mike Ellis through the 80s, Ricky Grace after that, and then what Damo's been able to do this decade. do you look to an import point when you considered how many point guards around the league are star import guys now? Damo's been a unicorn in the fact that he's been an Australian gun.
A luxury to have that for sure.
Do you look to, or do you anoint Mitch and say Mitch is the next guy in there?
Yeah, and that would have been the case a year ago. Like, they would have done that, but do they, like, in a club standpoint right now? I arguably think they would get an import point, like just the way the league is going, and to have that, like,
and especially if Cotton frees up an import spot,
correct.
then you could have an import.
And the thing is as we're seeing now, it's a lot harder to get a quality big that you know is going to do well.
Yes, 100%.
And hit a home run off that piece, then an import point. Like, you look across the league as to one position. Like, even that, like 4-point guards had unbelievable, like, performances all weekend. Casper Ware, John Robertson, Jerome Randall, like Bryce, so it just goes the makeshift though. Like, so I think they'll go that route, knowing that you've got Mitch and you can get that. Do I think it's the right move? Oh, who knows? But that's hopefully, like, it's just the way the club's accustomed to and looking at current performance, last year and all that. He was, he anointed himself as the next player, and I have utmost confidence that he could do that position and be the starter. But then you're not going to have a luxury and then go, all right, well, we're going to get another import big, when right now there's question marks regarding that position and what output they're getting there, and you wouldn't have a backup big import.
Yeah, this is the thing. If you sort of project forward and go, if Bryce is naturalised, then you 3 import and you assume that Nick Kay is still rolling at the 4,
correct.
which he is, then your 3 imports are at the 1, 3 and the 5, right?
Correct. Yeah. And so that's the thing you'd go, and that's the thing, it happens, like, if, say, which I hope doesn't be the case, but if Nick leaves, and then goes, yes, all right, we need to get a legit big, like, that we know is going to, and you go, all right, we'll put Mitch as the starter, and then we go a budget import at the back, to back him up. But right now, that's where I think, because I think the whole dynamic will change when Damo leaves, because defensively, you had those sort of a two-headed monster all the time, from Brad Robbins to him to Mitch, and even like JK and all those guys, but such a defensive influence, you would go that scope. So that's what I would think they would go, is go, all right, import point, and then do that until, you sort of see. But that depends on if everyone stays, and I'm not fully confident Nick Kay will stay.
Are you not?
No, I don't think so. I think...
Wow.
And that's not because I've had a discussion with Nick, I can promise you that. That's nothing like that. But I just think he's quite young, obviously, and he's performed at every level in his World Cup campaigns. Just look at him and going, like, if he wins a cup, like, that's the thing, the Wildcats are always here, whether they can compete with that sort of money, I don't know. So
you're talking about potentially heading to Europe or something like that?
I just see that and go, there's a club like that that would throw $800 to $1 million, like,
that's
a guy like
tough
that.
Money to ignore, right?
If the Wildcats can challenge that, like, and it's, he's relatively young, like, he's just got into here, there's not loyalty as such, not like, he's obviously a loyal guy, but he's not like he owes the club anything, he can come back. It's the same situation of why Angus sort of was like, I can come back in 2-3 years and do that. Like, it's, as much as the league's growing, one, financially the incentive, but you want to, like, do EuroLeague, you want to be going up against Barcelona and Madrid and all these, like, so I just think, like, that's the case. He's it's not like he goes to New Zealand and plays. He loves the game of basketball. He wants to continue bettering himself and putting himself in the best situation. And if they won a championship here, he goes, I've already won 2. Like, what more do I? I've added to it. Went to World Cup, Olympics, all this. I want to go to the Olympics. Like, what does he put himself in the best situation to succeed? Okay. So, Yeah, I'm not. If he can tweet if he listens to the show and say.
So the message from Greg Hire is don't win the title this year because then you might lose Nick Kay.
Or Nick Kay stop playing so good, so your stock isn't so high.
I don't think that one's a possibility.
Yeah,
but we'll see how we go.
Yeah, there you go. There's your headline this week. Nick Kay out, and then I'll get a messess from Troy saying, "What are you doing?"
Oh, jeez. Yeah, I think we might lead with the mid-season awards, and we'll let Jacob Chance find that in the 40-minute mark of the podcast.
Mate, he sent me a message.
Has he?
Yeah, and he said, he goes, I do listen. And then I was like, of course.
So Chancey makes it this deep into every podcast.
Well, that's a good thing, right?
So he'd be listening right now.
Yeah, so he would be like, wow, I finally got a call out with 40 seconds left on a 46-minute segment.
He's probably just going to start tuning in for like the last 5 minutes because he knows that's when he's going to get a shout out.
Did you get my shout out? It was at the 20-30 minute mark.
Said you're the best assistant coach anyone's ever seen in the league.
That's not a true story.
Crystal ball time, mate. We got to let you get out of here.
Fell flat.
You fell flat because you thought Sydney would fall flat, and they absolutely destroyed Melbourne.
From the get-go too, I was like,
that game was over early.
Yeah.
Mine's the slow burn with Lamello. So Lamello didn't play at the weekend, so that one's still looking pretty good. I'll take an easy one here. Tariq White to carve up Melbourne again.
Yes.
He loves it. He loves Melbourne. He matches up well against, this is in Perth on Saturday.
Yeah.
No Casey Prather as well, which is going to make life a little bit easier potentially for the Wildcats in terms of taking away that depth from United. I'm going Tariq 25 plus.
Okay, well, I'll go with that because I'm all about them at the moment. They won't lose until the new year. So, don't know how many games there are. What, 2 games? To our next time we speak on this show, they won't lose a game.
Wow. Okay.
So if we don't talk till March,
they've got yeah. We'll just keep it rolling. They've got Sydney on the road in there somewhere.
Yeah, I got them.
Yeah.
Yeah, confident.
Yeah, right.
I suck so bad at my crystal ball. I'm going to just keep going out on the list.
You started the season 100%.
I know, but that's me.
And then it's just fallen away so quickly.
I wish we didn't. I know you do you used to do the weekly punt. I'd be like doubling up. That's
see. I've got to disclose something here. For the one person who follows the weekly punt in the Sunday Times that I do with Ben Robinson, my colleague, one of my bets this week for Sunday was the 2 outsiders on NBL Sunday. So Adelaide to beat New Zealand, which they did thanks to Randall, and then Cairns to get over Southeast Melbourne. So that's why I was watching the end of that game thinking, up 6, 25 seconds left. Jarrod Kenny, you just don't do anything silly and we'll be, no.
Wow.
So that blew my bet.
Would that been a good little, payout?
It was paying nearly $5 I think.
Yeah, okay.
The 2 outsiders. I thought
lucky it's not real money.
It's lucky it's not real money, but it is charity money. So yeah. So Jarrod let down some charity cause there as well as the Taipan. So JK, if you're listening, I'm sorry, shave your head. Yeah. Mate, get out of here. We'll chat to you in the new year.
Perfect. Thanks
for your time again this year, and to our listeners, we'll chat to you in a couple of weeks' time. Cheers.
The Dribble Podcast is brought to you by PerthNow, your home of sporting action from home and abroad.